clean the tips out, but
You
no.
could have, but
But and he was a guy that Michael. Now that means you have to send us feet pick. You're first.
didn't that mean he had to send us pizza?
No, feet pictures.
No, I thought it was pizza.
Oh, pizza. Okay, I'll take that instead.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's pizza without the feet in it. Yeah, something like that. Hey there, hi there, ho there, out in Spray Wash land. Hey, we had a guest tonight, but he had a little bit of a family issue, so we're going to go off the cuff again and get into some dirty, nasty details of stuff. Kind of, maybe, sort of, but not really. Kind of one of them things. But there is some stuff going on out there in the industry with some supposed fraud and other things, and I'm actually somewhat surprised, Ray, that this hasn't happened a little bit sooner. Because with so many new, and I'm going to use Ray's words here, innovators. There's so many new innovators out there in the industry that they're not innovating crap. They just taking stuff and anyhow.
Again, I'm going to go back and blame this all squarely on Tim Hazelton.
It is his fault.
And it really, I mean, and I say that jokingly, but at the same time, I say that not jokingly, because you never had people doing this stuff because of the mixed tank. You had some larger equipment manufacturers, but nobody was ever building smaller skids and things like that until Tim created the Proportioner. And then on day 2, after it was announced, people, I'm going to copy this. You can't patent that, and we'll see.
Seriously though, I mean, I actually sit there and I wonder if Tim has actually thought about and really realizes the worldwide impact that he has had on the cleaning industry.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, but you were there. You saw it whenever it came out. You saw it whenever it was. I mean, it was just, and it really was. And you didn't see truck back skids and this big explosion into doing equipment until then recently. But I can say this from a vendor standpoint, we still run into some supply chain issues here and there.
Mm-hmm.
However, for the most part, like if I call up and order pressure washers right now, I mean, Titan even has some reels in stock. I'm probably 2 to 3 weeks out on some pressure washers to get them into my shop. Maybe a month out there. If you are a person who's waiting on equipment at this point, standard type equipment or a custom build, I think you probably really ought to start getting some questions answered, by that, because it's not like it was last summer where
I got supply chain issues.
Yeah, I mean, where it really was, we were 6 months out on a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was amazed. I called one of my suppliers the other day and put a message out to all the guys on the Power Wash store forum. I was like, I was amazed. It was 2 weeks and I got in, some 690s and some GX 390s. So
but even at that, even at that, I mean, if they're waiting on parts because of supply chain issues, there are other things that can generally be done by most, and I'm going to say independent builders to begin with. If you're not tied into you have to use this or that, then there are alternatives out there to parts. You know what I mean? So if you needed an engine and you don't have to go with a Honda engine, you can go with a Kohler. You can go with these different engines, sort of a thing. So
I mean, Simpson actually made some pretty big, some pretty nice V twins that we were using, for a while there, and they seem to be just have gotten really good reports on their bigger V twin stuff. So I mean, I'm still a Honda guy. I'm still a Honda guy. If all things considered, I'm still a Honda 690 guy, which is ironic because the only engine that I've actually had to warranty out last year was a Honda 690 that was had a bad ground issue from the what do you call it, from the manufacturer. It was a bad, and they, unfortunately, their warranty problem was not, their warranty department was not great to deal with, but it's what it is. So anyway, the thing we're talking about, and again, we're, neither Doug or I have dealt with it, just doing a lot of reading on it, but apparently there was a manufacturer / rig builder in Arkansas that had been taking a lot of deposits and a lot of money from people, and people were going ahead and executing their leases on this equipment. It wasn't all paid for with cash. A lot of people were going in there with these lease programs. Mm-hmm. And I've seen several different vendors that were, on the lease. And what usually happens, the way that these leaseors look at this is, you have a reasonable amount of time to deliver the equipment. In fact, I talked to one of my lease representatives today, and I said, well, what's up with that? How does that happen? He's like, well, we let guys, you get to build the equipment. It's not like, okay, immediately. So there's not necessarily fraud at that point, but reasonable time is also a part of it. Not a year, 8 months, 6 months, or something.
Well, and sometimes with building stuff, you have to have cash up front in order to, like a deposit, in order to buy the equipment to make the build work. Yeah. So it becomes a legitimate thing. But
so this person was not delivering, and then apparently some people went, kept on saying, hey, it's coming. And then people started to go and visit his store saying, hey, where's my stuff at? I need my stuff. And people had dropped off trailers, and his store was cleaned out. I mean, we've seen numbers anywhere from 40 to 60 people that have been impacted. And these were, $10,000
to $25,000 skids.
Yeah, I saw one as high as 30 on there, which really, I mean, when we start unpacking this, it's just interesting on a whole lot of levels, Doug. I mean, it's and the majority.
I get where some of the people are coming from, though, with spending that kind of scratch, especially. But I mean, it depends, and I agree. But sometimes you go out and you want to start a business. It's like buying into a franchise, right? And you go out and you say, okay, great, I'm gonna pay. Let's just throw out an argument of $30,000 for some sort of a franchise where you get like some equipment and stuff to start out. So it's kind of along that same line, especially if you can just finance it. And a lot of these zero down, quick lease type things. So it becomes more understandable to say, hey, I want to do this. I want to do it full force. And I want to buy this greatest of equipment and be able to go out and do it without having any knowledge of what it is that the equipment actually is or does, or, anything like that. So I get it, but I'm on the same page with you.
I've always been a big fan of don't go into debt in this business.
Agreed.
I mean, especially whenever you're first starting out, there's at least don't go into crippling debt. Go into small debt. There's nothing that you can't do in this industry that you can't. Yeah, I don't want to say nothing, but I can do the same thing for 5,000 that I probably can for 20,000. It's not going to be as convenient or as efficient for me to do that. Now, that being said, as you get into an expansion phase and you want to
be more proficient,
and you also want to marshal capital, then I get going into debt. I mean, sometimes there's healthy debt out there. Sometimes there's debt can be good. I kind of hurt myself in a little ways because for whenever we had our crash in 2009, I virtually paid cash for everything I did. It wasn't until, 3-4 years ago that we started, really financing again. But all those spray wash trucks never had a note on any
here.
spray wash truck. Always paid cash for it. We just recently started, using credit again.
And that's good and bad, because
No,
again,
it is.
if
I
you're
mean, it
paying
is
cash
bad.
for it, you don't owe anything, but
You also
not
don't
building
necessarily
that
have the
back end
credit for it.
either, so
We're looking at buying something right now that,
there's a little bit of change.
yeah, but I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. It would be something for roughly, let's say, $150,000, and we were told that we're going to require 35,000 down instead of 25,000 down, not because of your credit rating, not because of your lack of available credit, but because of the the amount of credit that you've used over the past 15 years is not very much. And it's kind of interesting. It's like, well, the score is like at damn near 787 or something, but still having the lack of credit that we've used kind of thrown in your face is really kind of interesting on there. So I've got that. I mean, one, don't go into debt. I mean, just don't go
at least minimize your debt. Don't go out and run into a big,
especially when you're just starting. If you don't know that this is what you want to do, that's why if you go into the pressure washing equipment, buy, biz, sell, there's so many freaking, new rigs that have popped up on there that have been used for half a season and go, oh, this isn't really what I want to do. Guys, whenever you're buying something for 20 and selling it for 10, it's hurting you, man, especially if you've had a business that's failed out there.
When you look at a lot of these things, the other thing I think a lot of people are missing out on, we get so, I guess the best way to say it is emotional about what it is that we want sometimes, and we don't follow our gut or follow our instincts or follow what would be the norm. And as an example, let's say that you go to buy something and you really, really want it, but you look at the reviews and they're not that great, but you buy it anyhow. Okay. You're putting yourself in a bad spot, even though, you know better than that. Right. I mean, in today's day and age, even if you have, 1,000 reviews, right, on some equipment, and you go and you start reading the reviews, you have to look at them and just use common sense when you're doing it. Like, if there's 1,000 reviews and they're all 5-star reviews, hey, that's great, but are they real? And there's a way just to look at how they were worded, or are they just a 5-star review saying this person was great, love this company, that kind of thing. Those are typically garbage, fake, paid for reviews a lot of times. So
yeah,
you have to do your due diligence and just use your brain on some of it.
Mm-hmm. So the debt thing is a killer, and man, and it's crazy to me that, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody in Arkansas, but it's shocking that there be that many people in that state. And, I guess, they make these things called roads now, so people are traveling to get them. But, whenever you hear about that many people getting defrauded and having issues, okay, Jacksonville, Florida, Houston, Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, some major metropolitan area, but it's Arkansas. I mean, I'm shocked. Well, and if that shows the amount of people that are getting into this business, guys, I'm going to be really, really honest right here. It's time for everybody to take a big breath. Maybe consider lawn care. I'm just saying, because The pressure washing industry's gotten kind of full recently.
I don't think you could overfill it. I think we've had this discussion before because I think like just like the lawn mowing industry, right?
Yep.
The lawn mowing industry, people have said for a long time, is it's saturated. The problem with that statement is that you have small companies, mid-sized companies, and massive companies, right? That are all in that industry. Even though you see, I mean, even around here, I can't tell you that every day I probably see 30 rigs running around, and I'm not even looking for them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But they're running around, and they're all making money. Some of them are making beer money. Some of them are making, pork money. Right. It's whatever. So the wash industry is the same way, right? Yes, you have a huge influx. And to your point, if you've got a guy in Arkansas that right now, supposedly the numbers are somewhere around 60, 60 plus minus whatever, people that have been so-called scammed out of their money. Well, that's just one of the guys that's building rigs. There are lots of guys out there building rigs now. So if there's just one guy that has nailed 60 people, I mean, that does show that it's a major influx of people into this industry. And that also means, just like you said, I see them here in my market where you've got fairly new pieces of equipment, fairly new rigs, fairly new skids that are for sale. And they're typically for sale around that $9,000 to $10,000, $9,500 range. I see a lot of them. And so, I mean, if it were me and I decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to get into this again, I'm going to go look for a used skid that's got next to no miles on it. But even that, think about it though. If you buy a used skid in this industry, and if they washed with it 2 times, okay, you're thinking, oh man, it's brand new. It's only been washed with 2 times. Great. How did they put it away?
Yeah.
Has it been sitting there with all this salt in it? It's actually junk now.
Yeah.
Even though it was only used twice. Is it just junk? So, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, man, you have to know what it is that you're looking at to understand whether or not you're going to even get into trouble with that.
So how many restaurants were in your neighborhood when you old guys grew up? I mean, honestly, I think I can speak to this. We didn't have restaurants. We actually literally had to go out and club a dinosaur over the head, and drag him back, to the cave and then sharpen, 2 stones to make a knife and skin him out that way.
Yeah.
And I think I see where you're going here, but yeah, there's a lot more restaurants now. There's a lot more people now as well. There's a lot more houses. There's a lot more, and I get it,
I wish I knew who that was because that's actually a good analogy. I mean, realistically, if you look,
we're supposed to grow. I mean, we are growing. Yeah. There's more doctors. There's more lawyers. There's more, everything. And you're right. I mean, it is more and more and more. But and we're talking about people that are buying rigs. I'll tell you, I this will blow your mind. It blew my mind, Doug, because I knew all the guys in Tallahassee that had rigs. I knew all the guys that had professional stuff because we would network, we would share stuff back and forth with each other. What I did not realize is how many landscaping companies, independents,
transition.
Small guys with no signage, no anything on their part-timers that work for the state of Florida. And I mean, none of this with any scorn or nothing but mad respect for these guys. I never realized how many of those guys were in Tallahassee because they certainly weren't drinking from my same trough, whenever I was washing, but I probably saw 4 of those guys today, come through here, tote tank on a trailer with a DeWalt or something with a AAA pump, and just some squirrels looking to get their nut out there. And they seem like nice people, because I always talk about people. Do you have insurance? Do you have this? Doing it the right way. But there's a ton of those people out there, and those people will never wind up buying a rig.
Exactly.
They most likely will not. They may buy a 12 volt, but they're not really interested in expanding and getting big because it's truly
A,
like
a side hustle, part-time gig for them, or yeah. Well, I told you this. Yeah, it was junior. So I kind of suspected, but I wasn't sure. I remember a long time ago when I before I had my shop and I was getting, I had my freezer, refrigerator where the guys would, we'd have the ice and water and all that. I'd stop and get ice for the guys every day. And I remember stopping one time and, these guys in the back of a pickup truck, behind me getting ice. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we do what you do." And I'm like looking at them and looking at their truck and looking at their equipment. And I'm like,
No,
I didn't say anything. No, you don't.
No.
You don't do anything near what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't to put them down, but they were obviously there for beer money. And again, I've made this argument 1,000 times in this industry. We need them, right?
Yeah.
We need the $9 guy, the $99 guy, the $999 guy, and the $9,999 guy. They all have their place in the marketplace. It's just, and it's for you to decide which one do you want to be. Do you want to be the guy that runs around and you have to do 30 jobs in a day to make $300? Or are you the guy that does, half a job and you're making $300? It's your choice.
Yes, it's we've said it so many times up on stage before. We're all selling the same bleach.
Yeah.
We're all selling it. It's your choice whether you're getting $30 a gallon for it or $300 an hour for it. So,
and you're talking about you literally you could start a soft wash company for probably less than $400. If I wanted to, I could go. So I told you that flip house that I'm working on, and I already had the tank and the pump, but I had bought a tank with a 1 GPM. I think it's a 60 PSI 1 GPM pump on it. It's an agricultural sprayer, right? And I'm going to tell you what, doing that flip house, I use that thing. It holds 15 gallons of water. So I put my water and my bleach and a little bit of soap in there, and you turn that little pump on, and little 1-story house, I could shoot it easy, kind of a thing. I spent the whole freaking day doing that one house, but and then just using house water pressure to rinse it off. So you could do it. It's not ideal, but it could be done.
You could. I had somebody today that was asking, well, I'm just trying to do this as cheap as possible because he wanted to buy a good pressure washer, and I was telling him about downstream. Well, how do I do roofs? If I spend my $4,000 on this, I don't have any money left over to do roofs. And I said, look, go out and get a Remco 12-volt pump. I said, I'll sell you 300 feet of half-inch, poly braid hose. You don't have to have a reel. You just reel this thing up yourself. I said, you build a poly gun and you're cleaning roofs at that point. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be, the big shiny rigs aren't necessarily a sign of success. A lot of times, like we're saying, it's a sign of debt out there. And also the shinier it is, probably the less that it's being used. So,
well, and it's as we said before that, you get to where when you first start out, your profit margin 75-80%, so having that little, piece of junk equipment, sometimes you can make more money than with a good successful rig. Again, once you get to that point, the good rigs are going to be way more proficient. You're going to get a lot more done. You're going to do a lot better job just because of the equipment that you have. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to start out that way.
No, I agree.
And I guess for me, looking at it, that's not really what this is kind of about. It's more about the scams and potentials and things like that are going on out there. So just more using your due diligence to understand what you're buying, how you're buying, why you're buying. And from what I understand, his business seemed like it was good, all up front in the beginning, and it just, I think maybe just went, hey, you know what? I got all these deposits. I can't keep up with the equipment, but I got all this money now.
I have no idea. I never really followed it. So we're right here. One, it sucks for it sucks for the people.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, if you've scrimped and saved, I mean, I saw that one video out there, and the guy saying he sold a 1955 classic VW to scrimp and save for the money, and you know that's gone, and now he's going to have to go. You know, now he's going to have to go back and actually take a loan out for this equipment. But you know, it sucks for them. Number two is, you know, watch out for that debt. Yeah, work with what you got for as long as you got it. You know, don't think that rig is going to make you successful. You're going to make yourself successful, and you can grow into you know, you don't have to have this awesome equipment to make yourself successful whatsoever. You got to have an awesome work ethic.
And I think that's what Michael is trying to say here, where, you know, if you start out and you have a really good, you know, spring or summer or fall, you know, whatever it is, and you make some really good money, that's not necessarily the time, because a lot of people do this. They're like, oh man, I made all this money, and so, you know, man, I really want that new car, I really want that new truck, or, you know, I really want that wrap, and a wrap is a good thing. I'm not downplaying that, but investing in the equipment so that you flat own it, it's yours. You don't necessarily now, if there is a stumble, a bumble, whatever, you already own the equipment. You don't have to worry about, you know, making that quick lease payment or anything else. It's yours.
Man, I don't think I could have handled initial 60 builds last year. I'm trying to retire, guys.
I looked at building equipment and decided I didn't want to work that way.
Yeah. Jacob, you working out, for the love of God, please don't do jumping jacks, because I don't want the world to wobble on its axis again. And Jim Bob, you know, Jim Bob's talking about redundant systems. 1 is none, 2 is 1. Absolutely. 100%. Don't hire too many employees to look bigger than you are. Yeah. There's that as well. So, you know, again, don't feel you have to go out there and spend boatloads of money. Third point that we were talking about was sweet 6 pound, 7 ounce baby Jesus. How many people are actually in this business at this point? I mean, that's really pretty damn shocking whenever you think about it.
I see new rigs every day.
I mean, it really, really is. In case y'all are coming in late, you know, I mean, it's yep.
And I think I will always be on the point of, it doesn't matter to me how many new guys come into the market. I don't care, you know, as long as I'm doing, you know, and I guess the argument could be that, well, you're not doing it anymore, so you don't know, you don't understand. But I'd say that's not true. I'm still very close with Cajun Soft Wash, still, you know, talk with and follow and help and, you know, assist and, you know, not actually physically out there washing, but if there's any questions, whatever. So my finger is not on the pulse, so to speak, but it's still on the pulse a little bit. And not just with them, but with others where,
well, I mean, we have our
failing, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, we do lots of education and stuff out there. Yeah, we're still out there, you know, and it's just, I don't know. It's really interesting times. And I think this spring is going to be very telling for people. We're going to see how this economy actually is.
I mean, look, Sterling, open it up. I mean, that's what this is about. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about anyhow. So, I mean, ask questions, say what you know. It doesn't
open the door to the wash world. I would let the wash world elephant in the room or leave it here. No, he's not invited. No. You know what I'm talking about? No, I mean, I don't care. I don't know what the elephant in the room is.
You know, all of a sudden I'm thinking maybe it's the other elephant, but
yeah, that's what I was talking about.
No, yeah. No. I'm talking about the current elephant, not the irrelevant.
Yeah.
The
irrelevant. Oh man, yeah. Blaine is spitting out some fire here. Know your daily operating cost. If you don't know it, you're failing.
Slowly failing.
Think you're making money, go long term into the hole, 100%. You know,
And
But
having somebody in the office, I mean, we talked about this a dozen times again, but having somebody in the office that can rant those numbers off to you, because I'm not that guy. I needed somebody in the office to do that stuff for me and tell me that stuff.
yeah.
And to me, that I was talking with somebody about this the other day. The first time I realized I was told you realize you're going to do $120,000 this month.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I didn't realize that. Dang, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, and so yeah, that's actually what we're talking about. That's what we started out with talking about, and I mean, everything's kind of relating back to that on there. So yeah, that is who we're speaking of. But Blaine, I want to go back to here. It's a different season already, and so down in Florida, I'm hearing guys saying, yeah, we're really busy, but a lot of the guys are here saying that it's kind of different. That it's they're very, very busy, but it's just a different busy. They're having to close more. It's not an automatic. Some of the automatic services that they've done, the people are questioning the prices on. So it's interesting, but the commercial work has still done very, very well for people. So,
I'm hearing that across the country. It's more commercial is really doing
and
well.
People are they said that the income tax refunds are going to be smaller, and I mean, and we really did. There are a lot of people that pay for their house stuff out of their income tax refunds out there.
How long has it been since you had a refund?
Oh my God, 30 years.
Yeah, you can tell who's a business owner and who's not. I mean, I hate to say that, but I mean, I haven't had a refund in 30 years. It's like I got to pay every year.
Hey, Josh,
and I'm paying out the yin yang all through the year.
Yeah, no kidding.
Which, by the way, that's going to take me onto a very slight squirrel rant. I've been having to do some things with some governmental stuff lately and viewing governmental websites. And I asked Ray to do me a favor, which I don't think he did. Do you remember what that favor was, Ray? I texted you. You didn't catch the text I sent you early this morning?
No. Oh, God. No, I haven't even looked at my phone.
I asked Ray to mail me a package that would explode and take my head.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that one. Yeah. I saw that one. Yeah.
Because you know what? Our government spends billions upon billions of dollars to have websites that don't work. And I can go to GoDaddy for $250. I can build my own website and have it work flawlessly. I just don't get it. But anyhow. And here I can't get a tax, we don't get an income tax refund anymore. We got to pay out the yin yang to have these stinking stupid websites and everything else in the government that just flat doesn't work. So
Charlie's saying last year's first quarter numbers have been beaten. Mm-hmm. So that's nice. Jim Bob's, he's saying had 3 accept. He sounded like he had some nice big stuff. Hey, MTH. Jacobs, people are shopping like never before.
That's got to be residential because I'm not hearing that with commercial.
Yeah.
Commercial just seems like it's banging from what I'm hearing.
Needed an office person, got the cart before the horse. You have to do things in order like math. Yeah, I would agree with that. So Blaine, I'm busy struggling to price it because a ton of new people not knowing what they're doing, especially on pricing. Closing rate at 50, but last year it was 61. Raised prices by
1%.
I'm wondering if that's 1 or a 10.
I'm wondering if that was supposed to be a 10 as well.
Yeah. And a lot more turn downs.
So residential, we're hearing the same thing. A lot of turn downs on the residential side. But you got to remember, I can't tell you. I go through, grocery store and people will be talking about $9 for a dozen eggs, kind of a thing. So everything is a lot more expensive. And so the residential market has been taking a hit just, I think, from that pure uncertainty term, but the commercial market has really picked up. So that's, and then not only that, but if you're closing at 50%, that is not bad at all. That's kind of right at the sweet spot. 40 to 60%. If you're closing less than 40, your prices are probably too high. And if you're closing more than 60, your prices are probably too low. Yeah. There's always room for a little bit of adjustment. And that's not a complete thing, because I know for me, if I go out on estimates, I'm going to close way more deals than if we're doing them not by going out to do them.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
And Sterling, you got more leads than you can fill. Small company.
Trust me.
I mean, if you want to, you don't want to scale. So, well, all you can do, if you don't want to scale and you want to make more money, all you can do is start adding more services.
Yeah.
Because we all have that 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week. And so the only way that you're going to make more money on that is to wind up raising prices, and you're either going to do less work or the same amount of work for more money if you're not going to scale. Doug, would you agree with that? Yeah.
But that's just it. I mean, if you don't want to scale and your business is growing, I would suggest raising your prices. If you have a closing rate of 10%, okay, but that 10% is making you more money, and you're living your. I'm not going to talk numbers, but TJ was one of them guys that, said, I don't want to go to this other level. I'm very happy
where he is. Yeah.
And I mean, what better than to be right where you want to be? You know what I mean? You don't have to go to one direction or the other.
Mm-hmm. So I want to get back here to Gene. Economy isn't that big of a deal in South Florida. And again, every place is different. And when the economy is good, everyone spends money. When the economy is bad, the rich spend more money. You just got to have a good mixture of both if you're primarily doing residential work. Absolutely. I mean, it's, there's an old saying that poor people have poor ways. And we've said many times on here, the two classes of people that aren't really impacted in big economy swings is rich people and poor people.
Yeah.
Because poor people are going to keep doing what poor people do, and rich people are going to keep doing what rich people do. Mm-hmm. And I might not buy, the third Maserati this year, but my $3 million, $4 million house, it's still getting taken care of. Mm-hmm. Because it's I was just having a conversation with somebody working down on the coast, and I put it in perspective to him. I don't think he had realized it until I said this. And I was like, okay, how much do you think that house cost? So I know it took, at least 2 years to build. It is the lot itself on the Atlantic or on the Gulf of Mexico is $1.5 million lot. I said, it's like 8,000, maybe 9,000 square feet. I'm going to go in here and say that is a $3 to $4 million property, right? Mm-hmm. If we take a figure of 10% for maintenance, that's $300,000 a year. Okay, that's a little bit high. Let's go 5% for maintenance. It's $150,000 a year for maintenance. 5% of that $3 million property. And he was kind of getting a little bit worried about putting a bid in there for a $2,000, $2,500 quarterly cleaning, salt removal, window cleaning, and just taking care of the property. And it'd be almost $10,000 a year. And I said, think about it. They probably literally have $150,000 set aside, 5% of the value of that house for maintaining their beach house. And it's not a primary residence. It's a second home, and it's not a rental home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably more like a third home, honestly. Right. So, Jim Bob, so MTH is saying 12 times over last year. Very nice. Weather has a lot. He's
That's
up
awesome.
north. Price Shoppers, Blaine Lynch said foot.
Square foot.
Appointment-wise, profit busier than last year at commercial and residential closes 40. And see, look, these guys know their numbers. Guys, if y'all are just tuning in and you don't follow us, understand these guys are ripping off their close ratios. This is what you need to do.
Knowing your numbers is super important. We say it all the
time. If I build a garage to house my 2 wash trucks and trailers, should I be able to write that off in 1 year? The current tax guy I've written off 40 years since his property. I am not the guy to ask for that. I would not.
You should write it all off in 1 day. That's it.
I am not qualified to give that information out there.
If your tax guy is saying you write it off over 40 years, I would listen to your tax guy.
40 years since it's on the property. I think that seems a little bit long to me, but
you got to take depreciation or whatever it is. I don't know. That's for a tax, thing, because let's face it. I mean, there is not going to be anybody on the face of this earth. It's impossible to know all the tax laws.
Yeah.
Okay? You could be the head of the IRS and you're not going to know all it. So, but that's why we pay tax professionals. I just had a conversation, Ray, with somebody the other day, and I wish I could think of who it was right off the top of my head, but and if you're watching the show, I'm sorry, I'm not making fun of you, kind of a thing. But they said about switching to an S corp, and I think that they had said that they were been thinking about it for a couple of years, and that I said, when based on the numbers that they were doing, they probably would save about $15,000. Because I remember back when I was at that stage, and my accountant said, yeah, if you would have switched to the S corp, you'd be putting 15 grand in your pocket right now.
Yeah, we switched from the LLC to the S corp at some point along in there, and I don't remember when. I just remember signing some paperwork for it.
And my whole point on that is, you're if you've got a good tax professional, they're going to pay for themselves.
They'll tell you. I'll never forget. My accountant looked at me and said, "Hey, you called me a few years ago." He said, "Guess what? What? You're about to spend $30,000 next month." And I was like, "I am?" He said, "Yeah, I'm going to give you a choice. You can spend $30,000 on something you want, or you can spend $30,000 on your taxes."
Take your pick.
What do you want that we could write off on your taxes? Is there
what's the correct answer, Bob?
And we wound up getting a shop tractor to run around. He said the law said that I could store it at my house, but it didn't always, it needed to make we used it for loading pallets and skids, in and out of the spray wash trucks. But again, that literally would have just been written off to taxes had we not done that,
Absolutely.
So going back to how many people are in this industry in my area in North Carolina, one person posts for Facebook for pressure washer, 70 replies, 50 of them are pressure washer, the rest are recommendations. Everyone and their mother own a pressure washer now. Agreed. Yeah. And guys, I'm telling y'all what, you've heard me say it on here before. Still, it's true. Once a week, somebody comes in my office with a Simpson machine in the back of their truck, in the back of their SUV, and saying, "How do I make $500 an hour with this thing?" Because that's what I heard on YouTube.
And Lionel, I have an old saying that I created, right? And that is, opinions are like what? And everybody has them. Pressure washers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tell you inflation is real. The shaved ice supply, feeling it with the quotes I give for residential, getting a lot of, we have to think about it. Yeah.
And that's one of them ones where, overcoming objections in sales. This isn't a pitch for our classes, but overcoming objections in sales is one of the classes that we have on the Spray Wash Academy. We cover that. Okay, because there are lots of objections, and that's not even a true objection. That's just that's something that's made up, and you have to know how to get over that and do it tactfully. But anyhow,
let's see, very nice, Brian and Bill. Done more business February, March this year. Awesome.
That is absolutely awesome.
Very good. Don't think if you're closing a higher post to low, something to be said for good Google review, showing up, presentation, good knowledgeable conversation.
And Lionel, that's what I was saying too, though, is that, for me, my closing ratios are much higher if I go out and I do the presentation and that's just a generalized thing, right? Your closing ratio, generally speaking, should be between 40 and 60%. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of guys, and I hear a lot of guys closing 80, 90%. Okay, that's great. And let's qualify that a little bit, where if you're the only one in the market to begin with, or you're the only one they know, yeah, you're going to close at a higher rate. So that's not a given fact that that's where it has to be. But for the most part, that is where it's at. If you're closing higher than 60%, you really are probably too low in your price. You could be raising your price. Even myself, when I would go out and I would physically sell, I would close at a higher ratio than anybody else. Because it's me, I know, and I sell on honesty and integrity, and I sell based on educating the customer to where they don't want to go anywhere else. I could have raised my numbers at that point. But there is that point where I'm just like, no, this is my fair price. This is what I want to be at, but realistically, I could have raised my prices, closed a few less, but made more money.
Yeah. I don't disagree one bit. I'm looking for something from a comment I just saw.
Trying to go back on
crazy talk from Michael Ovens.
That guy,
absolute crazy talk.
Yeah. All right. Well, while you're looking, you want me to scroll on the next one?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. It says Michael J said, I wrote off my boat for dock cleaning and staining. We wrapped it. And that's a good thing to talk to you about, with your tax agent, because I've heard both mixed stories about where doing things like boats and snowmobiles and things like that can be a red flag to the IRS, but at the same time, they can be a legitimate business expense. I mean, you're out on the water, you're advertising to a very specific population base, if you would, sometimes. And so I think there's 100% an argument for that. But my understanding is boats being wrapped and things like that tend to be a little bit more of a red flag to the IRS. I mean, Ray, same thing here, write off ammunition, because you take employees out to the range and take, customers out to the range, maybe write off the lease that you have, the hunting lease kind of a thing.
Well, I mean, yeah. And there's, something like, hold on.
Do you guys discount square footage after a certain amount? I'm just curious, and I hate raising prices because the employees get less hours and we make more money. So I feel like I'm crapping on my guys. They are like family to me. Okay, so will I give discounts based on large projects? Yeah, sometimes I might do that. But the other side of that is, if you feel like you're crapping on the guys because you're making more money and they're not, throw them a bonus, right? Make it happy for them as well. It can't always be, or shouldn't always be, in my opinion, just about money and the money that you make and the money that you keep. It should be about helping the others around you and making sure your employees make money and all that kind of thing. So, throw them that little extra bonus. Again, I will discount if it's based on I'm doing 1 million square feet of concrete. I might give you a lower rate depending on how things go. So yeah, I don't think there's a problem doing that, but I also think if you're making extra bank and they're working weekends or nights or whatever, and they're working hard for your company, man, throw them a bone. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know who could ever go and ride a boat off.
Yeah.
Logoing a boat, that's just a horrible idea.
Yeah. No, like I said, and you would go out on the water with yours, and to me, it's 100% a good, solid business write-off. That's my opinion.
Yep. Fairs and 4-H club. I mean, I met my CPA literally at my hunt club, and that's where my hunt club, and he was the one that really opened my eyes to it. And he's like, well, Ray, you can ride off a gun, you need to bring an employee and a customer down here and hunt with you every now and then. And, and you need to, got to practice. And, if you, I saw you have a membership at Talon Range, why don't we put that over here on the business side instead? I mean,
it makes sense.
My CPA, he was pretty, leading edge is good. Bleeding edge might be, yeah. So
there's somebody that's not very smart.
Yeah.
Taking a guy that doesn't even have a job, taking his advice, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's very true. Everyone right now knows that prices on everything have gone up. So it is a good time to raise your prices, and you can blame it on the economy. And they are going to understand, not that they're necessarily going to pay it every single time, but I think they have to, or especially if it's an older customer. I think now is the perfect time to say, you know what, our rates have gone up. I'm going to maintain your rate for you because you've been a good customer for the last 6 years. Really appreciate your business. It's a good selling tool on your current customer base, and then raise the price on your new customers and let them know, yeah, last year we would have been able to do that for the $99, but now we're $99,999.99 because eggs are 99 or $9, $9 a dozen.
Mm-hmm. How do you guys clean boats and docks without using SH? I'm asking for a young guy wanting to do this. I'll tell you how I'm going to do it.
Looking over his shoulder
all the time. I last week I had a guy come in the store and God, we talked for 2 hours. He was such an amazing man, and he had actually knew who I was from my work at all the DEP buildings before. But he has been older fellow, well into his 60s, but he was a retired investigator for DEP and a retired investigator for the sheriff's department. But and he's a current, I say retired investigator, he's working on his second retirement now as the investigator for DEP. And so we wound up just really yakking with about the right way, the wrong way to do things. And his point was this: you can't not do anything. I can always find something to cite you on. I don't want to cite you on stuff, and a lot of the citing is going to depend on your attitude and are you
making an attempt?
Do you have bat guards down in front of the drains? Do you have you made a modicum of effort to not be just a horrible person?
I think that's with everything, man. If we used to know somebody that always complained about how bad the police were and how but they pulled me over again and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, first of all, they pulled you over again being the first clue, because they know who you are and you're driving the same thing, and they wrote you a ticket for something that you didn't correct. And when you pull over, now you're being belligerent to them. Yes,
right.
You
don't take that. You don't take the cigarette out of your lips before you tell them to kiss your ass. Yeah. You're gonna get into that. But if you want to go by the true letter of the law, the true letter of the EPA law, you're supposed to use water to clean over docks, and water is it. Now, I've seen way too many people that are, technically, you shouldn't necessarily be able to waterproof a dock or spray Thompson's water seal on there, because it could be getting into the water. But people do it all the time on there. I remember, and I had
oil from the shoes on, from the base of your shoes.
I love Rich. Order shirts with your competitor's name on it. I went with one, and I specifically did this, and I did it for a pro, but I was washing a dock up on Lake Talquin, and I said, okay, we're going to get the answers for doing this. And I started calling, and I started with the Department of Environmental Protection, or the EPA. Then I went to my state EPA, or Department of Environmental Protection. And then I went to my local water management district, and I said, what can y'all tell me about washing this dock out at Lake Talquin? Well, we'll have somebody call you back. Okay. Nobody, I had to keep calling. And they're finally like, we know you can't use chemicals on it. I said, right. I said, but there's some stuff in the law there about me discharging into the water. Is it okay if I've got a hose going on using the customer's water and discharging into that lake? Well, we think it is. I said, okay, I'll tell you what. I can solve this problem. What I'll do is I'll fill up my pressure washer with lake water and I'll wash the dock using only lake water. Would that be okay? Oh, no, you can't do that either. And why can't I do that? Well, you would have to get a permit to use that water that you're taking out of that lake to wash that customer's dock. So if you wanted the truest and best way where you're probably not going to get in trouble is if you used that customer's water, preferably well water, to wash that dock with no chemicals.
Yeah. So you're basically you're pressure washing everything. That's it.
And I mean, there are citrus cleaners, but good luck getting, that an actual proof for using it,
Yeah, that's the thing that you run into. And we've heard this many times, right? How many times have you talked to somebody, Ray, and they said, well, we were approved for this. But then you talk to somebody else and they say, oh, no, we asked about that and it wasn't approved. And citrus cleaners are one of those ones that we have talked about several times where you get one regulatory person who says, oh, yeah, that cleaner is great. Yeah, you can use, Zep Purple Degreaser. Okay, no, right? So it depends on who you talk to and what they think the law is and their interpretation of it. Yeah. Same thing with what he is saying about, using the customer's water and is it well water? And so a lot of it depends on your local area and what they're willing to accept, I think.
I'm looking for something because I want to show you. Just reminded me of something of a great little thing that we discussed.
While you're looking that up, I'll read this other one. Blaine says, I'm losing this year at houses over 5,000 square feet. Those customers are not touching the price. We see ourselves dropping a few $100s to try to win them, but when a house wash goes over 1,000, they seem to shy away this year. This is all new to me after almost 11 years. Blaine, that again, it is one of those things where we are falling into a market. Some people are saying, it's the competitors lowballing. And I don't believe that's the issue. I believe the issue at hand is eggs are $9 a dozen. So everything has gone up and they are now pulling back. And it's something that we see, Blaine, that we're hearing all across the country where people are just saying residential is down. It's not gone. I mean, it's not gone to a competitor. It's just down, right? Because of the economy and what's going on. But commercial is up. So I know it's tough to hear, but I wouldn't lower my prices necessarily if it's not affecting anything. If you could sit there and you could say unequivocally that, yeah, if I drop my price $200, all my buyers come back, then yeah, maybe that's the thing. But that's not what's happening. As much as it sucks. Servant saying, can I write off my marketing manager, aka wife, new Tahoe, since I will be using it to tow my trailer occasionally? Again, talk to your tax people, right? We're not tax professionals here. But I don't see why you couldn't or wouldn't write it off.
But
right?
I'll tell you what, if you do take our advice, make sure you say in that audit, but yeah, those guys on Facebook said I could do that.
That's it.
I wanted to point something. So you're talking about what they say, what you can use and you can't use. Has anybody ever heard of Everlast composite siding?
I have.
So Daniel Howerton brought this to my attention today, and I want to point this out. Okay, so stick with me just a minute. I'm getting it set up here to show y'all a little something on it. And it is basically a rock, concrete dust or rock, and resin siding. Jim Bob, you're probably going to start seeing a lot of it up there where you are, because it specifically mentions like the New England stuff.
And what Jim Bob said about your question too about the whole into the lake, this is where I was saying, even if you have oil on your shoes, right, and you get that oil into the water, it puts that sheen off, and that can get you in trouble because it's a sheen on the water, kind of a thing. It's exactly it.
But this Everlast looks very, very similar to vinyl siding. Let me share my screen here, okay? Here we go. There it is. Okay. And it mentions that it's got like a heavy rock in it and then a resin. Everlast clapboard. Man, I am so slow tonight. But Daniel Howerton brought this to my attention, and he has a customer that he washes his windows like 4 times a year. His house is trimmed this. This is a really high-end composite siding, and the customer himself wanted to know, hey, how do you clean this? You know, and he forwarded this to Daniel and said, is what you do going to actually void my warranty or not? Okay. So you can kind of see the prices or the kind of properties this fits on, the colors. But here's where I want to go with this. On the warranties, okay? So normal routine maintenance, wash using a soft bristle brush. Use only a soft bristle brush to avoid smearing the stain into the grooves of the texture. Clean gently to avoid surface abrasion. One of the things here is do not use a pressure washer. Mm-hmm. It's in bold. And it talks about do not use containers cleaning organic solvents or other aggressive ingredients because they could affect the surface appearance of the siding and void this warranty. Examples of such cleaner are chlorine bleach, liquid grease remover, strong soaps, and detergents containing organic solvents, nail polish remover, paint remover, isopropyl alcohol, and furniture polisher cleaners. Now, here's what you can use on here. Under mold and mildew, fantastic. That fantastic cleaner or a solution of vinegar 30% and water 70% or Windex. Now, I say that to say this. If you go onto the SDS sheets and look, Fantastic is a degreaser, and its chemical makeup is basically identical to gutter butter. And if you don't think gutter butter is a harsh freaking chemical, you're from a different planet.
But if it's listed as gutter butter, you can't use it. If it's listed as fantastic,
you can. Yeah. But that's also not going to kill the organics on there. So you're left with how do you clean the damn thing, you know? And it's basically saying take a garden hose and brush the whole house down.
And I think we're going to start seeing more and more of this as time moves on, where the manufacturers are going to move away from, because look, even on our plant and property protection class, we've got things from the manufacturers where they say, use bleach and water, and they will even go 25 to 35% somewhere in there on a mix ratio that we would never do that, right? It's just, you don't need that much. Okay.
Hey,
I think we'll start seeing more of it stepping away. What's that?
I said, hey, I was just saying, hey, to pressure washing punks.
Oh, hey,
I haven't seen him in a hot minute. Hope you're doing well, bud.
But look, here's another thing I would question on that, Ray. So can you let's have an argument for a second. Can you soft wash with a pressure washer? Your opinion.
Hold on, let me answer this question. Recommend it if you can. I'm looking to get away from the 5 and the 12 volts. What is the most reliable system that can reach 3 stories with a hot roof mix? I'm going booster pump, or I'm going an air pump. Those are my two for most reliable.
So for me, to reach 3 stories with a hot roof mix, I mean, I'm probably going to ladder up to the roof, and then I'm still going to use a 12 volt. I like the 12 volt for roof cleaning. I do not like boosters for roof cleaning, and my guys didn't like boosters for roof cleaning. But if I'm going to take my choice between them, I would still stick with the 12 volt. But if I couldn't go with that, I would go with a booster pump. So Ray, getting back to, I'm going to put you on the spot again. Do you consider, or not do you consider, that's the wrong way to ask it. Do you think it's possible, or do you feel like, how's this? Do you feel like there are people out there that believe you can soft wash with a pressure washer?
Yes.
Via downstreaming.
Do I think you can? Yes, 100% you can.
Okay. So let me get my thought here. Now go back and read that thing that you just wrote, right?
I agree.
Because it says no pressure washer. Even though
it says do not use a pressure washer.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to use a pressure washer. I'm going to use a 12 volt. I'm going to use a booster. I'm going to use a Comet. I'm going to use an air system, right?
But how many times do we see? I mean, we wrote the plant and property class. How many things do we see where the manufacturer says do not use a pressure washer? They don't say don't use over 1500 psi. They don't say don't use high pressure they don't say pressure wash. They say don't use a pressure washer.
Yeah.
So even though you're soft washing with a pressure washer, technically if they wanted to make the argument that you're still using a pressure washer, even though you're hitting the siding with 2 psi, they could.
Yeah, and I agree, 100%. You can, and Alan, feel free to message me a question. And 100%, you can soft wash by downstreaming. You can 100%, you can soft wash with a pressure washer. But whenever you get into these technical specs like this, now I'll tell you what I would do, and I told Daniel to do. Call this number right here, Everlast Siding. Toll-free number, and I would talk to one of their product engineers out there and say, look, here's the problem that we're running into. And I know that you're saying no chlorine bleach on that product. And there very well could be some loopholes in here, just in the devil being in the details, because if you get into the small print and start looking at it, it says a couple of things up top. Note, the chemical agents may be hazardous to the user and the environment. Always dispose of chemical agents. Do not use cleaners containing organic solvents or other aggressive ingredients. Examples of the cleaners are chlorine, bleach, liquid, but I'm not using chlorine bleach. I'm using a solution of chlorine bleach. Mm-hmm. So you might have a technicality there. Then the other thing that I would say is under these notes, it says cleaning materials are listed in alphabetical order. Reference to these cleaners is illustrative purposes only and not intended to imply that there are not equally effective alternatives. The trademarks and trade names for the cleaners are the property of their respective owners out there. So, again, I think I would actually go and call this number right here, talk to a product engineer and say, look, we do things the right way. Would a point, and this is where you get specific. This is plant and property protection right here. 101. Know your numbers. Know your percentages on there. Can I use a 0.75% dilution of SH on this property?
How many times, Ray? Because this is another one, right? We had this discussion recently with the Sherwin-Williams paint. Okay, how many times have we encountered where a website, a web page from whatever company, right, says you cannot use bleach, but then later in their own documentation it will say unless you encounter mildew growth, use bleach. Or right. They say you cannot use bleach, period. Don't use it. Skull and crossbones, no bleach. But then you call them up on the phone And you can even get them to send recommendations via email that say, oh, yeah, use a bleach, water, and soap solution. We've had it happen. So,
yeah. I wonder if this product is one of these things, because it mentions about fading, color protection. Chelsea will at its sole option repair, replace Everlast that has changed color in excess of 400 lab units, which we've seen that term before on Hardy Board Color Match Plus siding. Chelsea reserves the right to refund the prorated amount in lieu of repair or replacement if the original cost cannot be documented. They'll have the sole discretion to determine the amount of the refund, blah, blah, blah. So I wonder if this product is not susceptible to sun fade in itself.
Possible. But remember that there are several of the manufacturers out there that will say their product is designed to fade, or it is designed to oxidize. They know it's going to oxidize. They know it's going to turn chalky. They have it in their documentation so that that is not part of their warranty, because it is going to happen.
Yes, sir. Everlast siding is not warranted against discoloration caused by air pollution, acid rain, oxidation, or exposure to harmful chemicals. Not warranted against normal weathering resulting from the elements. Normal weathering is defined as damaging effects of sunlight and extremes of sunlight. Weather and atmosphere that may cause any colored surface to chalk, fade, or become soiled or stained over time. It is normal for weathered products to have a slight shade differences between portions of the product panel exposed to sunlight and any area of the panel that is not protected from the sun. They're kind of stepping away from it.
Yeah.
In their own warranty.
Yep. You know, it's even that way with a roof, just so you guys.
And Gene, I thought of that too with the soft scrub. It said soft scrub, and you're right. There is soft scrub with bleach. So it didn't say which soft scrub to use. It just said soft scrub.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, good conversation.
Yeah, it is. Golly, it's after 9.
Yeah, it's hard to believe we're an hour and 12 into it. Some nights I feel like we could talk forever.
We could, you know, that's the it's the fun part. So it really.
So at the end of the day, our recommendations are that you should absolutely wrap your boat, write it all off in one day. That you should use a oil-based cleaner to clean over water. And what other kind of recommendations can we get in trouble with?
Well, I want to go to this one that Charlie said. I had a customer wouldn't use bleach on his Easy Breeze windows because the manufacturer said you couldn't. Called him in front of the customer, explained his process, got authorization right there on the spot. Customer signed the contract, and we cleaned the property. You know, in the document library for Spray Wash Pro, we actually have a couple of letters, Charlie, from some of the manufacturers from TPO Roofing on there. And I did the exact same thing. We were cleaning the roof of the high magnetic field laboratory. There's 2 of them in America. There's, I think, one in New Mexico. There's one here in Tallahassee, Florida. And my engineer at the building said, oh, no bleach, no bleach, no bleach, no bleach. Says right here to maintain warranty, no bleach. I called, and it's a person's name. It's not GAF, and I'm just too tired to think of the name of the guy. But I called the product engineers. I explained our process. I got it back in writing that my process using sodium hypochlorite at no more than 30% was acceptable in their opinion to clean their product with. And don't be afraid, guys, as professionals that know what the hell you're doing. don't be afraid and understand pressures and understand that, we're talking high volume, not high pressure, that rinsing is important and neutralizing is important. Don't be afraid to talk to these engineers.
And yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to the actual manufacturers. And I guess for me, the thing is don't say, well, I see that on your website it says don't use any bleach, but we would like to use bleach, and don't do that. Yeah. Call them and say, get into a discussion over solutions and mix ratios with them, if you would. I see on your website it says not to use bleach. If you're going to go down that road, would a 1% solution of sodium hypochlorite be acceptable to you, or would it not be?
Doug, I don't know what happened to your camera. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
It went away for a sec.
See how I am?
Oh heck. Where was I going there? Michael, I don't know of any sealers for vinyl. However, I do know that Agent Halt has some waxes in it, and Agent Halt really made vinyl houses shine very, very nicely. And that was a great, great product to use on them.
Well, thank you, Scott. Actually, it is fuzzy now. It looks like it's fuzzy.
You've been fuzzy for a while. We just weren't saying anything because it's easier on our eyes.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Don't mention it.
It is. I wonder why it's that way.
I hate looking at my old pictures. It's just such a walk down memory lane,
Let's see if it clears it up. It did that once before. No, it's still fuzzy. Whatever.
Hey, that's a good time to leave.
Yeah, there you go. So anyhow, just so everybody knows, we'll be putting out some announcements about the huge convention coming up pretty soon. And also, we're going to do a little mini series of Meet the Owners. We're going to interview some of the owners of the huge convention coming up. So get to know them as people and as company owners, and what they stand for and what their growth is, what they would like to do with the huge convention, that sort of thing. And so I know next week we'll be talking with Jonathan Maynard. Y'all have seen him on here before, but it's not necessarily talking about the huge convention, though obviously it's going to be a natural segue to talk about that. But we're going to talk more about his company or companies, and we'll talk about the others. And I know Sid is going to be in. I know that Jim is going to be in to be interviewed. And so we've got several things that are going to go on in that realm to kind of learn about the backstory of the new owners of the huge convention. And I think it'll be an interesting conversation, and as well as, there might be some giveaways and that kind of stuff. So
very cool. Sounds good. I don't know. Did they get the new CEO yet? Did they accept your application, Doug?
Yeah, I don't know if they got a new. I didn't even know they were looking. I thought that they would have called me just out of the blue and said, "Hey, we're begging you to come."
It's pretty good. It was like $130 a year for 1 day of work a year.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, really 3 days of work,
3 days, yeah, exactly. So. I've had lots of job offers in this industry, believe it or not, from different company owners and all that. But the huge, they never called. See how they are. I don't know if they got.
Nobody wants me.
Yeah.
Nobody wants me.
All right, y'all.
Guys, thank y'all again.
You're wrong for that. You're so wrong for that.
Oh, man.
Mr. Irrelevant. Yep, there you go. Yeah.
Lordy. All right, kids. Y'all have a...
We'll see y'all next week.
See y'all then. Bye.
Bye.